Okay, so it's time. My name is Mattias Allring, and I'm the Director of Strategic Innovation at Toyota Materials Handling. And I'm here to talk about innovation in safety. To us at Toyota, innovation in safety isn't just a priority, it's actually one of the most tangible ways that we can deliver sustainability to society. And that is why it's also a key metric in our sustainability reporting. Our vision here is clear: zero forklift accidents. And this is also why we train 40,000 truck drivers every year, along with hundreds of supervisors and managers to help our customers build their safety culture. But we also innovate using technology to create safety, and that is what I will focus on in this presentation. But before we go into the how and the what, let's start with the why. Why is it that the safety of forklift drivers is such an important topic, not just to us and our customers, but also for society? To understand that, let's take a look at this excellent data set from the Swedish Work Environment Authority, ranking all occupations in society according to accident-related sick leave. And then we get the top list. And you will not find any of your childhood heroes on this list. No policemen, no firemen, no soldiers. All those occupations have safety under control. But what do we find at slot 13 out of all the jobs in society as a 13th most dangerous job? Trick question, it's not forklift driver, it's actually prison guard, taking care of the most dangerous people in society. To find forklift drivers, we have to go past construction workers to the very top of the list. Being a forklift driver is the most dangerous job that you can have in all of society. And that is why the safety of forklift drivers is a sustainability issue for all of society. And let's remind ourselves that behind these grim statistics are real people with very real and dire consequences. Let's pick two examples from this insurance company report. First example, a guy is driving down an aisle and his foot is sticking off the platform a bit, and he passes a pillar and his foot gets squeezed and crushed in the process. And it doesn't heal fully, and he remains 3% incapacitated for the rest of his life. And he can no longer play football. A tiny stupid mistake, and a crushed dream, and a crushed foot. Next example. A guy is backing really quickly, and he's not looking back properly, and he hits his head on a steel beam, so bad that he later dies at the emergency, leaving behind his partner and their child. Take a moment to emphasize with a lifetime of repeating the phrase, "My dad died when I was just a kid. He was a forklift driver." To that child, the fact that there was nothing wrong with the truck doesn't matter. All that matters is having lost all that matters. And what's so sad about these fatalities is that when we conduct our own deep dive into fatalities between the years 2023 and 2025, we find that there are recurring themes. And there are 6. First, tip-overs. And this is further amplified by the fact that a lot of truck drivers don't wear seat belts, and then they get plunged out of the vehicles, facing trauma or getting crushed underneath the vehicles. Running into pedestrians because of failure to separate traffic. Load instabilities. Working at heights. Improper use of forklift as lifting device, and organizational failure, failing to train people correctly, or language barriers, failing where you fail to understand the instructions. What's obvious going through this list, and especially the examples behind it, is that almost all of it, if not all of it, is related to human error. If safety procedures were always in place and were always followed and people never made any mistakes, we wouldn't have these tragedies. At Toyota, we live by the principle of Genshi Genbutsu. Go to the real place, experience for yourself. And that is why this is a picture of when I took my own truck license. And believe me, I was the odd one out in that class. Everyone else was looking to start a new job as a truck driver, while I was there as a curious engineer. Theory was straightforward. I would summarize it as, there is stuff that you can do with the forklift, and there is a subset of that that is safe to do. Don't go outside of that. But still, a lot of the guys in my class struggled to read a graph explaining how much you can lift and how high safely. And one day their life will depend on understanding that graph properly. But then we went into the practical part, and that's where my self-confidence dropped. And I realized that understanding the theory in a classroom, that is one thing, but applying that theory while you're juggling controls, you're watching your surroundings, and you're handling pressure, that is something completely different. And it was then, when my self-esteem was at its lowest, that this picture was taken. And the instructor is standing next to me, and then he said something that really stayed with me. He said, right now, you're not really dangerous, because you don't have confidence yet. Confidence takes about 2 weeks to build. And it's then that you start working faster and you start trusting your gut feelings and your instincts. But real skill to consistently do things fast and safe, that takes 2 years to build. And it's that journey from confidence to competence. That is a valley of death that all truck drivers have to get through to become skilled workers. But when we talk to our customers broadly about what keeps them awake at night, the one theme that keeps coming up at the top of the list again and again is a lack of skilled workers. And this is an accelerating trend. Why so? And it has to do with demographics. This is the demographics of Europe, and this graph works like this. You take the volume of people that you have in Europe, and you arrange it along an age axis. Men to the left, women to the right. And the available workforce that you have is a space between the kids at the bottom and the retired at the top. Do you see a problem with this graph? It is diamond-shaped. This means that if you look on the side, it's widening. So the outflow into retirement is accelerating, while at the same time, the inflow from kids to working age is diminishing. And this is a trend that will go on for decades. So from this, you can expect that it will more and more be a fight to keep the lights on. You will have more turnover of people. It will be harder and harder to find skilled people. You will be more subject to temporary workers, and we will be dependent on more migrant workers. And that leads to language barriers, which have an impact on safety. So that's a bumpy road ahead. Now let's move into solutions. And we will start closest to the driver with seat belts, and then gradually work our way into solutions, system solutions. Okay, so seat belts. And we wanted to rethink seat belts. So we partnered up with Autoliv. I think we have them in the audience here. Yeah. And so the first question when we wanted to rethink seat belts was, does it matter? And since Autoliv is coming from the automotive industry, they went about it in a scientific way. They made a simulation with or without seatbelts. Let's see. So we have here a guy at the top without the seatbelt and a guy at the bottom with seatbelt. And this is 14 kilometers an hour running into a fixed object. And without going into the science too much, what we can say here is a guy without the seatbelt dies from head trauma, while the other guy is fine. So seatbelts matter if you wear them. But seatbelts also save lives in other ways. Us humans, we have very strong fight or flight instincts. And these are primal instincts that are strong. But in a warehouse, these instincts can be very dangerous. Let's look at this guy on the left. He's about to tip over because he's driving with the forks up on an uneven floor. And look what happens here. It tips over, and his instinct is to stop the truck. Look at the guy on the right now. He senses something is about to go wrong, and his instinct is to run out and stop it. Seatbelts matter in more ways than the obvious. So, to rethink seatbelts, now I will show you 3 concepts that we have never shown publicly before. And I have to remind you, these are prototypes. You can't buy this yet. Reason why we want to show this is to spark a discussion. Is this the right direction? Is this something we should take to the market? So, first off, we wanted to try to make it impossible to cheat the seatbelt. And the solution that Autoliv came up with is quite elegant. There's a sensor inside the seat where the seatbelt is coming out that feels the angle. And then it also feels how much is being spooled out. And it's so sensitive that it can even feel your breathing. Impossible to cheat this seatbelt. Next concept. We know that sometimes it's too much of a productivity penalty to buckle off and on all the time. So what if we, instead of enforcing seatbelts, make it more practical? What if you instead wear the seatbelt, so it's already on you, and when you sit down, you get buckled up automatically. And then you're on a leash, so you can take a step off the vehicle and back, and you're still tethered to the vehicle. And if you crash, it acts the same way as it would do in a car. Third concept, for working at heights. What if, again, you wear the seatbelt, and when you need to buckle up, you have an adapter on top of you, and you fasten yourself like so. Okay, let's move now from passive safety to active driver assistance. So for our counterbalance trucks, we have had vision-based active safety features for some time as options. And this is saving lives by helping the driver avoid driving over people, driving into things, or driving into other trucks. What we are now releasing here at LogiMAT is driver assistance also for pedestrian walkies. This isn't so much about saving lives as saving feet. That's a very common accident, that you drive over your own feet. Now the truck can sense your feet using the same robust and proven technology that you have in the parking sensor of your car. This is now ready to buy. Speaking of crushed feet, remember the football player in the insurance story earlier in my presentation. Now the truck can sense if your foot is in an unsafe place, or if your hands are in an unsafe place, and prompt you to adjust. We know that tip-overs is a common reason of fatalities. But what if trucks had a similar sense of balance as us humans? We have remarkable balance. We can sense where the limits are using our sense of angles and our sense of speed. But what if a truck had a similar feature? This we have had for some time on our counterbalance trucks, and this is saving a lot of lives. And it's so successful that it's now a standard feature. Remember the guys from my truck training that struggled reading a graph to understand how much they can lift and how high? Now our reach trucks can feel the weight and warn the driver if they're lifting too much, too high. We know from our studies into fatalities that the legal implications for managers and companies can be pretty harsh if you fail to keep a safety procedure, but you can't enforce what you can't see. You don't know what you don't know. And there's a transparency issue in warehouses because you don't know what's going on out of sight. You will for sure know about the accidents, but they are just the tip of the iceberg. For every accident, there are near misses and countless unsafe acts. And you can't improve what you can't measure. But all our trucks have telematics pre-installed, and they are designed to share data. And there are endless opportunities how this can be used for safety. I will show you one feature I really like. And that's, I am now a manager, and one in my team is now bumping into something that triggers a shock sensor, and I get an instant notification. Something has happened. Where has it happened? It's happened over here. And who did it happen to, and what is a safety profile of that driver's behavior? This way, data leads to insights. Insights I can take actions on, and actions leads to improved safety procedure and culture. Since the trucks are connected, we can also manage access to the trucks. So if you don't have the right to drive the truck, you didn't do your health checks or whatever reason, you can't access the truck. Up until now, we have only talked about features that are standalone to a vehicle. But what if we connect them, truck to truck and truck to people? That way we can separate traffic and we can automatically slow down vehicles if there is a risk of collision. This is bringing a lot of the values that you get out of automation, but you get them without getting rid of people and for a lower investment and a lower transformational challenge. And finally, if you want to really get rid of the human factor, removing people from the equation is the ultimate approach. This is lunch break at one of our customers. All the staff is in the canteen eating. Value is still created. Okay, that's the end of my presentation.